So we're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction.
This multi-agency operation led by DEA with our local, state, tribal, and federal partners targeted one of the largest and most dangerous drug trafficking and foreign terrorist organizations in our country.
2:17 p.m. A dusty highway outside San Antonio, Texas. A refrigerated semi-truck pulled over for routine inspection. The driver handed over a valid commercial license, clean cargo manifest, 25 tons of fresh produce. Everything looked perfect, until the K9 unit refused to move. The dog sat down near the rear axle, wouldn't budge. Officers exchanged glances. Something was wrong. They began unloading crates, tomatoes, lettuce, nothing suspicious. But dogs don't lie. A density scanner revealed an anomaly beneath the trailer floor, several inches thicker than standard construction. Tools were retrieved, bolts removed, metal panels pried open. What they found changed everything. Beneath the refrigerated floor, there was no insulation. Instead, 100 kilograms of pure methamphetamine. Vacuum sealed. Stacked with industrial precision. Hidden inside a custom-built compartment. The estimated black market value exceeded $8 million. From a single truck. Hit like if you want to see how deep this goes. The truck belonged to Atlas National Logistics. Not some sketchy shell company. A nationally recognized carrier. Ranked in the top 2% of logistics companies in the United States. Fully certified by the Department of Transportation. Contracts with Walmart, Costco, Kroger. This was America's supply chain operating perfectly. Or so it seemed. The driver kept repeating the same sentence. I deliver lettuce. I've been running this route for 6 years. Federal agents compared his route data with shipping records. His stops were routine. His schedule matched hundreds of other drivers. 620,000 miles logged. Not a single accident. Passed every drug test. Every inspection. There was nothing indicating criminal intent. That realization sent a chill through the room. This wasn't a smuggler hiding drugs in a truck. This was a truck designed to hide drugs from the driver himself. The compartment could only be accessed by removing specific cargo pallets in an exact sequence. A sequence no delivery driver would ever know. If this truck existed, there had to be others. Not one. Not 10. Possibly hundreds moving every day across America's highways. Carrying poison hidden beneath food meant for American families. Comment exposed if this shocks you. Atlas National Logistics wasn't infiltrated by a cartel. It was owned by one. This was not a shell company that existed only on paper. It was a real enterprise. 15 years in operation. 500 drivers employed. Annual profits. Legitimate contracts. Approximately 150 trucks in the fleet were completely legitimate. But the remaining 100 were designated as priority units. These vehicles were sent to cartel-owned garages for modification. Mechanics installed hydraulic compartments beneath trailer floors. The business model was both intelligent and terrifying. DEA intelligence units spent months uncovering the truth. What they discovered was worse than anyone imagined. More than 20 senior officials connected to traffic oversight and logistics regulation had intervened to assist the company. No written bribes. No envelopes of cash. Only pressure. Phone calls. Doors quietly opened when they should have remained closed. This wasn't corruption in the old sense. This was protection. Type yes if you believe justice matters. They were protecting something far bigger than trucks. A warehouse complex in Corpus Christi. Small logistics facility near the port. Registered as secondary cold storage. Operating for 7 years. But beneath that facility was a reinforced underground corridor. Stretching more than 1,400 feet. Large enough to move palletized cargo at industrial speed. Not a drainage system. Not storm infrastructure. A purpose-built tunnel. Analysts estimate 30 to 40 tons of narcotics pass through this corridor each year. Without ever appearing in public ports. San Antonio was only the front door. Corpus Christi was the gateway. The agents understood that taking down a single truck wouldn't stop them. The flow had to be destroyed. At 4 a.m., the signal was given. More than 400 federal agents from FBI, DEA, and DHS mobilized at 2 critical locations. Share this so more people understand what's happening. Across the United States, unmarked vehicles moved into position. Highway exits sealed without sirens. Way stations came alive with armed federal task forces. The first stop lasted less than 90 seconds. A refrigerated truck heading west. The driver stepped down, coffee still warm in his hand. By the time the truck stopped, he was in handcuffs. Beneath crates of avocados, officers discovered 62 kilograms of methamphetamine. Vacuum sealed. Numbered like inventory. The scene repeated again and again. By 4:18 a.m., 27 trucks stopped. By 4:41 a.m., the number rose to 53. By 5 a.m., federal command confirmed simultaneous seizures across 12 states. But the highways were only half the battlefield. In San Antonio, tactical teams breached the glass front headquarters. Doors shattered. Servers pulled from racks while still warm. Executives in tailored suits were forced face down onto polished floors. At the same time, another team moved south. Corpus Christi. As agents breached reinforced concrete, they reached the tunnel. Inside were abandoned forklifts. Half-wrapped pallets. On one platform alone, investigators counted 1.3 tons of narcotics. Stacked and ready for inland transport. This wasn't chaos. It was precision. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Within the first 2 hours, agents seized more than 9 tons of drugs. Froze $112 million in accounts. Arrested over 180 suspects. By noon, the final numbers were staggering. 52 tons of methamphetamine. 1.7 million pills. Black market value exceeding $2 billion. The operation took 18 months to plan. 6 hours to execute. For years, this network moved poison across America with clockwork precision. Hidden in letters. Buried beneath steel floors. Protected by paperwork and silence. It believed it was faster than the government. Smarter. Permanent. It was wrong. As the sun rose, trucks lined up under federal guard. Logos stripped away. Drivers stood on the highway shoulder, realizing the company they trusted was a criminal empire. This wasn't a raid. It was a shutdown. Inside the headquarters, technicians pulled hard drives one by one. 96 terabytes of internal data extracted. At first glance, it looked like paperwork from any successful logistics company. Clean audits. On-time delivery metrics. Safety awards. But patterns emerged. 1,137 shipments spread over 7 years followed routing logic that made no economic sense. Trucks took longer paths. Fuel costs higher. Delivery times deliberately inefficient. On paper, these routes lost money. In reality, they generated fortunes. By reconstructing invoices, agents discovered unprofitable routes were compensated through inflated repairs, phantom maintenance contracts, consulting fees paid to firms that existed only as mailboxes. Each transaction under $48,000. Carefully kept below federal reporting thresholds. Together, they formed a river. Over 7 years, that river moved more than $620 million. Cleanly laundered through America's own supply chain. Comment justice if corrupt officials should face maximum penalty. Then came the VIN numbers. The same truck identification numbers appeared in 2 separate federal databases. One tied to produce delivery. The other linked to seize narcotics in different states. The trucks had double lives. That discovery triggered emergency expansion. 47 bank accounts frozen. 19 corporate entities reclassified as criminal co-conspirators. For agents who had spent decades chasing smugglers, the realization was deeply unsettling. This wasn't money hidden in walls. This was money hidden in spreadsheets. One veteran investigator summed it up simply. They didn't beat inspections. They became inspections. Using conservative estimates, analysts concluded the same financial structure supported movement of over 52 tons of methamphetamine without triggering a single mandatory federal audit. The paperwork wasn't forged. It was perfect. This was no longer a drug investigation. It was classified as a systemic national security breach. But the most dangerous discovery was now undeniable. For years, this operation didn't hide from the system. It operated as the system itself. After servers were seized and money frozen, analysts began asking a painful question. What had already passed through before this morning? Using shipping routes, analysts overlaid 7 years of Atlas delivery data with public health records. Hospital admissions. Overdose reports. The results were devastating. Between 2017 and 2024, counties served by Atlas priority routes recorded over 430,000 meth-related overdoses. More than 112,000 were fatal. In cities where Atlas trucks made weekly deliveries, meth overdose deaths rose 68% faster than comparable regions. Rural towns were hit hardest. Emergency rooms with 6 beds suddenly treating 30 patients in a single night. This epidemic didn't spread randomly. It followed roads. It followed schedules. It followed trucks. Behind every spreadsheet was a human face. One driver, age 58, had logged 1.3 million miles over 2 decades. Never failed an inspection. Never arrested. When shown photos of hidden compartments, his hands trembled. I carried food, he said quietly. I fed families. Another driver recalled reporting irregular weight distribution 5 years earlier. The truck felt wrong. Within 48 hours, his report disappeared. He was reassigned. No explanation given. Investigators confirmed at least 11 internal safety warnings had been quietly erased. None reached regulators. The system didn't silence whistleblowers with threats. It buried them with bureaucracy. The majority of drivers weren't expendable labor. They were protective camouflage. Middle-aged. Clean records. Long employment histories. Exactly the kind of people law enforcement trusted. The cartel didn't hide drugs from drivers. It hid drugs behind them. Child welfare agencies reported a 41% increase in removals along Atlas corridors. Foster systems collapsed. In one Midwestern county, nearly 1 in 4 children entering state care had a parent with meth exposure linked to Atlas shipments. Conservative modeling suggested the Atlas network may have contributed to over 190,000 premature deaths nationwide across 7 years. Not through violence. Through quiet repetition. A truck. A route. A delivery. If you believe these deaths matter, comment remember below. The morning after shutdown, the street price of methamphetamine spiked by 300% in several regions. Supply had vanished faster than demand could adapt. More than 8,400 active distribution nodes stopped communicating within a single day. In Washington, emergency hearings were convened. What had been considered isolated criminal enterprise was now understood as something far more dangerous. Atlas National had passed every federal inspection for 15 consecutive years. Not once flagged for serious irregularities. The compliance scores were exemplary. Too exemplary. Automated systems trusted consistent performers. Human inspectors trusted familiar names. Over time, scrutiny faded. Not because rules were broken, but because they were followed so perfectly that suspicion never arose. Within days, Atlas National ceased to exist. Operating licenses revoked. Assets seized. More than 500 drivers suddenly unemployed. Many learned through news their livelihoods were tied to a criminal empire. Some wept. Others stared silently. For many, the betrayal cut deeper than fear. They had trusted the company. They had trusted the country they served. Emergency rooms reported a 22% drop in meth-related admissions within 2 weeks. For the first time in years, some towns could breathe. The final accounting was brutal. 52 tons seized. 1.7 million pills removed. $112 million frozen. Over 180 arrests. But behind those numbers was another set that could never be fully measured. Children who grew up without parents. Communities hollowed out. Lived short and quietly, one delivery at a time. One senior official offered a closing reflection. This wasn't a raid. It was an amputation. The machine had been cut away before it could spread further. But scars remained. As dawn rose, seized trucks sat in long rows under federal guard. Engines cold. Routes ended. For years, they carried poison beneath produce. That morning, they carried nothing at all. The roads were quiet. The system was exposed. Comment your reaction below. Hit like if you believe justice is worth fighting for. Subscribe to stay informed on the threats shaping our nation. This story isn't over. It's only beginning.